Hi, Shelby with the Genius Entrepreneur Podcast. And I'm here today to talk about this exciting collaboration that I'm a part of. And things are just starting to move. And I wanted to bring in my co-host and co-leader, Julie Ducharme, to talk about it. But just to give you some background about the Authentic Genius program, Dr. Julie Ducharme and I met a while ago, and we discovered that our brands are very synergistic. I enjoy talking about how people can discover their genius and make that a part of their brand and how important that is to differentiate yourself and your business. And Julie talks about stepping into authenticity and you're being your authentic self and discovering the power of that. And which all kind of started this idea of this program called the Authentic Genius, which is now starting to roll out with this amazing group of women. And I just wanted to give some more information about it. So, Julie, I would love for you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your inspiration for developing this program for women and to increase the power of their brands in the marketplace. So, welcome.
Thanks. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know me, I am a serial business entrepreneur. I've been one for about getting on 23 years, which makes me feel old. I started my first company at around 23. I also was in academia for a long time, like Shelby. So I got a chance to be an instructor, a chair, a dean, and a president. But like Shelby, I found something was missing, and I really have a hunger and taste for business. I love business. I love entrepreneurship. Um, I love kind of the excitement of closing deals. It's always resonated with me. And so, despite having a love for academia, I really flipped that into my businesses. And so, in all of that, from my experiences, one of the toughest experiences I had working in a very male dominated environment was when I had an opportunity to work with some women. And I was really, really excited. I was very young. I was probably like 29, maybe. And I was just naive to the fact that there would be any issues there. And it turned out to be the worst experience, probably to this day, that I've had. And it was really impactful for me. And I didn't understand why it was so negative. Why were these women so against me? Why couldn't we work together? And that was really what sparked me when I left that. I only lasted about 6 months. It was so toxic. And I left incredibly disappointed and trying to figure out, like, what did I do wrong? Like, was it me? Was it my personality? And I really came to the conclusion that, we're really divided as women. And how do we fix that? How do we change that? How do we realize that we're actually incredibly powerful together? And that was really what brought She Talks about. I grabbed a couple of my closest girlfriends and I was like, okay, I have this vision. It might be super stupid, but like, what if we brought women together and they told their stories and it connected us? And they were it was, I think, Linda Martin and Katie and Renee and Karen, which are all She Talkers from the very beginning. And they were like, let's do it, and it was kind of I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we're just going to try. And if we fail epically, we fail. And the first one we did was like 100 women showed up and we were so packed. We didn't get a big enough place. And we were like, oh my God, are we like on to something? And then we did another one and University of San Diego said they'd sponsor us and 250 women showed up. And we had like barrier breaker women, like famous people calling us to be in it. And I was like, what if we stumble? It was just a shocker. And then the coolest thing was just like leaving those events. It was kind of like top high, right? Like you're leaving, you're like, wow, like it was awesome. And these women were so amazing and like they want to work together. And so that's kind of how She Talks started. I never actually had the thought that it would expand 8 years later to being a national conference, that we have a magazine, that we've now created a membership. But one thing was really clear is there was a need for women to find support amongst each other, to uplift each other, and kind of make that change, right? And so that kind of in turn led to the Authentic Genius, right? Is like
I have a question about that before you move on.
yeah.
I just because you and I also we share the academic background, we share the communication and the speaking background. We share those things which I think are key to building a brand and building a business. But what I guess what sparked you to bring together women under the umbrella of speaking and speaking professionally? What, because that's a cornerstone of the She Talks. So what was that inspiration?
I think there were two things. One, I was attempting to start my speaking career because I felt I had a story to tell. And someone said to me, "Well, you just haven't made millions, so you really don't deserve to be on the stage." And I was like, "What the crap?" Like, what? I was like, "So if Mother Teresa wants to be on stage, she hasn't made millions, but I think she has something important to say. What about Gandhi? What about all these people who maybe had impactful stories, but they're not multimillionaires and they don't have 300,000 followers?" And so that was one aspect of it. And then I just really felt that everyone should have an opportunity to tell their story, no matter who they were. And so and I felt there was power in the story, right?
Mhm.
Like we can write, we can talk to people, but there was just something about bringing a group of 250 women together and listening to someone's most vulnerable moment on stage, them trusting that the audience wasn't going to judge them, but support them. And so that is where it was. And obviously, you and I both have a love for speaking. And I feel for me, that's the best way to communicate. You know,
Absolutely.
I love to write, but not everyone's, able to have time to read. But speaking, all you need is one statement to make a lifetime impact, and so that's how I really look at that. And that's a great question. I mean, for me, that's the venue. Now, some people I know would rather die than public speak.
Right.
So, so yeah, but I mean, our brand basically, so I'm at a point in my life that if I'm going to work, I want it to be something that I'm passionate about. And I want to keep empowering women. And so the Authentic Genius was a way for us to empower women, help them build their brand, take them from obscurity to iconic, an iconic brand, and make change at the same time, right? Because I just look at this like maybe this is the next person that solves a world issue, but they just need a platform and they don't know how to get there. And that was really what, you and I started talking about was like how we know it took me time to build my brand, right? There's always the joke about how do I end up in a tutu? I'm a retired athlete, like such a tomboy. I've been in spandex my whole life, but it was just kind of a fun thing and it stuck. And then I started learning branding and photo shoots and the impact of words and the power of them. And like my tutu thing, like everyone always is like, did you bring the tutus to the She Talks event? Like, can we try them on? Can we take them? And there's something really powerful about the women when they get to put on the tutu and take a picture, right? This
Yeah.
authenticity, they're just like, oh my God, I've got a tutu on. I mean, so it's just kind of interesting the power within allowing women to actually kind of drop the like really tough facade and embrace just a fun, I think sometimes almost silly, yet like powerful way about them. And I mean, because from what I did and what you did, we could never walk into work with a tutu on. We couldn't even walk into work with like pink on, because we were judged for that. And I mean, for me, that's where I just felt like there's power in this. And how do we get women out of their shell and show them the power within that brand? And so, I mean, that was kind of the vision for Authentic Genius. And I'm more the authentic side, right? I mean, yours is more of the genius side, which is helping women. And you can talk about that, find their genius.
Yeah, I mean, you and I share similar stories in the fact that we're in academia, we're both communication and speaking. And I think as I step into, my entrepreneur journey started a little bit later than yours, but as I have formed who I am and introduced my own brand into the marketplace, I found that connecting with my foundational genius and my way of understanding the world was the most powerful way to build my brand because it's me and it's me and I don't think of it as authentic, but it really is. It's coming in touch with your authentic self and being okay with that and having that be a part of who you are and your business because we all have a way of understanding
Mhm.
things and a way of doing things that make it easy for us, and we're in our genius zone, and we just perform at our highest capacity, and we're able to influence at our highest capacity, and being able to do that and also influence at the same time, and also work with other people and surround yourself with people that have that same vision, I think is so important. And
Yeah.
I've been very, very fortunate to be able to do that in my entrepreneurial journey. I'm a part of multiple business partnerships, the Strategic Advisor Board, the Rogue Publishing. This partnership, I feel that there's a power in your genius, but there's also a power in understanding what is not your genius, and being able to step into your genius and stay in your genius zone, but then also understand that it's okay to collaborate,
Oh, yeah.
and it's okay to that we are more powerful together than we are just as one, and there's just a power in that.
Yeah.
And I feel that as I have stepped, being in very masculine environment in academia, in college debate, because I've been in that forever, and in just the business world in general, I feel that there's just the expectation that you're solo and that you're doing it on your own. And but really, the power is in the community, and the power is when you align with other people and really help move your mission forward and your vision for what to achieve. I have had the opportunity to experience a few of the She Talks events, and I think they are so powerful for multiple different ways. I mean, I've always been a speaker. I like speaking in front of an audience. I like entertaining. I like motivating, informing, all of those things. But there's something different about, and I feel like it's a professional development opportunity too, that maybe not might be able to, that people always can't access because they don't make enough money. They're not the leaders of the organization, what have you. And it's an opportunity to really develop those skills and professionalize your brand, and the ability to let the world know about your genius, like you said, to get out of obscurity. And I think there's just a magic in doing that together. What excites me about the Authentic Genius program, just because it's the two of us and we have a great time and it's going to be a lot of fun. That excites me. But the other excitement about it too is that it's a program to elevate everybody's business. And it's not a competition. We're here to make sure that you're on stage speaking, to make sure that you have marketing materials to promote, to make sure that we get you in publications so you are known as an expert in your field and your story's told in multiple ways. And I think there's such a power in that. And as we are in the funnel of business and building our business, we might not think about, we're an expert here, we're a genius here, but it doesn't matter unless we're telling people what that is and influencing who we need to influence. And I just feel that in this program, there's an ability that is not found in other places. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think that women are notoriously known for not taking the seat at the table. We traditionally, when someone is giving us compliments, we blow them off. I talk a lot in my book about owning your own power, right? Like not being afraid to be like, this is what I'm good at, and I'm going to let you know it. And I mean, studies even show that like, if there's a job that's slightly off from what a woman thinks that she can do, she won't apply for it. Guys will apply for anything. It doesn't even matter if they have the skills, right? And so I think part of the authentic genius, like you said, is obviously knowing your genius. The other thing I think is that we have to drop our barriers and our fears, which prevent us from going after what we really want to do, right? Because I think that's really powerful when we talk. People will be like, oh, so what were your barriers? And I always will go, me. And they're like, well, besides you, me, right? Because like literally, I cannot tell you, so such and such literally stopped me. It wasn't that. It was fears, it was anxiety, it was the fear of failure, right? And so it was the fear of not being accepted by people if I really stepped into that zone, which was a little bit out of my comfortable zone, but it really was my zone. And I hate to say, but I think women are just notorious for this because our self-confidence and our self-worth is never as high as our male counterparts. Same thing, you do surveys all the time. Guys are like, I am amazing. And then the women's surveys are like, I'm okay. Right. And I can't tell you how many freaking amazing women I meet, right? They got all these skills. And they're like, well, I'm going to go back for like my third master's. And I'm like, why are you getting a third master's? And they're like, well, I'll have more worth. People will believe me. I'm like, if you have a bachelor's and two masters already and they're not believing you, you need to move on to a new group. Right. But I see this all the time. I'm going to go get one more certificate, one more degree, one more training. And that's really just hindering them because they're not acting on what their genius is. They're just like, I'm just going to keep educating myself. And there's nothing wrong with education, but at some point you have to step into, as you say, your genius and your authentic self. And so I think that's another thing that I'm excited that we're doing is that we're empowering women to realize their worth, right? Push them into photo shoots that maybe they would have done before, but are going to love to see themselves put their big faces, or excuse me, put their faces up on big screens in New York, not big faces. But things that you would never have imagined that you would have done in your lifetime, right? So, I mean, that's just what excites me. And I hope through what we're doing, we start to get them to dismiss the barriers, the self-worth issues, all of those things, because that's part of becoming a brand. You have to embrace awkward. I think you're muted, Shelby.
Oh, I am muted. Yes. I should say absolutely. Like that's part of your brand. It's part of who you are and part of, because your brand is you and your brand is the emotional connection you have to your audience, which are your potential clients. And if you're not being authentic, then you're not truly speaking to that.
Yeah.
I think I've said this to you and a few members of the Authentic Genius a couple of times. I think there's something that's going to be really magical that comes out of the group. And not only is it going to be that we have the opportunity to tell our stories on stage, that we get to meet all these other people, but the getting to know each other and getting to know authentically who people are, there's going to be magical things that come out of that, collaborations that we didn't even expect, and some things that were really amazing that we've already had the opportunity to meet so many incredible women, and I'm just excited for that to continue because when you have a group together that has so much power and all visionaries, something's going to happen out of it.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah. It's world changing, right? And something that's really exciting too is that She Talks and Authentic Genius obviously is expanding. We're not just national anymore. We have people calling us. I mean, this week I've talked to someone in Ireland, I've talked to someone in Australia, someone in New Zealand. And that is really cool. And the UK as well, because it's bringing in to me women from all different cultures, all walks of life. And when we create those cohorts, how powerful is that, right? I just told Shelby, hey, we've been invited to a thing in London. We've been invited to a thing in the Maldives. Like that's just creating power. And who doesn't want that, right? Like when I started this process, someone said to me, because I'm not a photo shoot person, Julie, you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Until I was comfortable, because it was the most uncomfortable thing in the world to do a photo shoot for me. I'm incredibly self-conscious of my body. And that's when they told me that, I was like, okay, wow, well, you're right. I need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so I think for some of you women who might be thinking like, oh, this is what I need, but just like, I don't think I can do it, or that's that, be comfortable with getting uncomfortable, and eventually then it will be comfortable. But I think, I was asked today in another session, like, what did you have to do to get this successful? And, I don't look at it like that, like, oh, I'm so successful. I just look at like, I've just been going after what I want to achieve, like what's on my bucket list. And, how do I get there? Right. Like we just talked with someone this weekend. She gave us her list of like stuff she wanted. And we were like, we think that's all achievable. Like we think you can get to all of that. And there's some pretty big things on that. So, I think ask yourself, like, what's your list? Like, what's your list and how do you get there? And if you don't know how to get there, that's what we do in She Talks and Authentic Genius, is get you there to that.
Yeah, and that's part of the strategy, and that's part of getting out of obscurity. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but you don't grow unless it is uncomfortable. And it's a lot easier. Easier isn't the right word, but it's a lot more fulfilling to do that in an environment where you have people around you that are all doing the same thing. It's just something that's I mean, magical is, for lack of a better term, it's just what it is. And that it's taking a risk, and it's uncomfortable to take risks. But if you're an entrepreneur, that's what you do. You get comfortable taking risks. And that's what you do when you speak. And that's what you do when you tell your story. Is everybody going to like it? No, but it doesn't matter, because you will affect some people out there. And that's really what makes an impact. So I'm just excited for the program. I think it's going to be really I know it's going to be really amazing to get this book out, to get this New York trip put together. We keep adding things to it and collaborating with other groups and making a bigger impact. And that's fundamentally what it's all about.
Yeah. And one last thing I wanted to say was that you talked about risk. So today I was working with a woman who's going to come on in and do a transformational session for all She Talkers. And I don't want to give away this. I can't give her name. I don't want to give the surprise yet because it's a bit of a surprise. But I was working with her today and I was her test subject. And so as she was asking me, like, so what's something that slows you down? And I said, well, I'm very risk adverse. I don't like to take extreme risk. And you go back to how I was raised. I was raised in a very like conservative farm town. You don't take risks. You don't do anything out of the normal. Like that is just how life is. So fast forward to businesses, I've seen in the past how me not willing to take risk has affected my business negatively. So in this session, we decided that I'm not going to say risk anymore. I'm going to say this is an opportunity for me. I'm still going to do my due diligence, but it is no longer a risk for me because risk is negative, right? So even me at this stage in life, 25 years of business, 4 or 5 companies, I have that risk nervousness in me, right? And so I'm continually going, okay, this isn't a risk. This is an opportunity for me that can transform into something amazing. Worst thing that happens is it doesn't happen. And I've already failed plenty, so nothing can top that. So I just wanted to share that because it was kind of a realization for me this morning when I was being the test subject of like, oh, wow, like I still kind of have a little bit of risk issue that I need to continue to look at as opportunity and not back too far off yet before I check it out. So that was my epiphany this morning.
The reframing, that's a good way to look at it.
Yep.
That it's a risk is a challenge, and a risk is an opportunity. And same thing with everything that makes us uncomfortable. It's an opportunity to be able to grow, and it's an opportunity to be able to create something that we didn't know even existed. So
Absolutely.
that's what makes me very excited about this. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yes. So let's talk about where we are going to be in Denver this weekend at this Achieve conference, which is pretty exciting. But then we're going to meet lots of business owners, and I think there's tremendous opportunity for some engagement of both businesses there. Looking forward to that. But let's talk about some of the She Talks events that are coming up in the next couple of months, because there are a few, and we'll make sure to put them in the show notes too, so people can see them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our Women's Inventor Conference / pitch event. It's a 2-day event in Coronado, California, April 27th and 28th. And we actually have some pretty big name women in the industry of inventors from HSN. Some people I believe have done Shark Tank, like it's a long list. And it's really an opportunity for women who either are inventors or interested in inventing to come. This is an industry where it's very low. And so the women helping me head this up, Jules and Stacy's, are inventors, and they just have a passion for that. So that's going to be an amazing event. Well, they're all amazing events. I'm going to tell you every event's going to be an amazing event. The next one is we're just building this out. It's in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's the She Talks Invest Her, focusing on women, generational wealth. This is for all women. Don't let any like the financial things scare you away. This is training women on how to best use their money and learn generational wealth. So that one's up, but we're still filling spots for that. And then on the 18th, we have the Women in Aviation event, which is going to be in Gilbert, Arizona. Same thing. We have some phenomenal barrier breakers coming in there for women. Obviously, talk with women in aviation, but even if you're not in aviation, aviation is wide. I mean, we're talking about we have people in the FFA to, I mean, women who are working. We have a woman who's coming in who's dealing with unmanned aerial vehicles in Arizona, which I'm being told this is like the new, like we're going to have like little drones dropping our, Amazon stuff. I mean, it's really interesting. So even if you're not in aviation, you should just come for the talks because the talks are going to be awesome. I mean, we have, Vernice Flygirl, Dr. Kameen Samuel, we have Michelle Curran, like Grace Green, like all just like badasses that I have some amazing stories. And then our biggest thing of the year is our She Talks Gala. And that is literally just a night of fun. It's a Great Gatsby theme. We're going to have old cars there, cool pictures, amazing food, a couple keynote speakers, and just a night of celebration. So if you want to get
Can't
dressed,
wait.
have some fun, we're going to have guys in old cars. It'll probably be old guys too. Take it, picking you up, dropping you off at the site and doing circles so you get to ride in on like a really cool old car. And that's a fundraiser too. We'll have like a silent auction and stuff. So if you want to just come and party, that night is just all about partying and having fun. And that, I don't know if I said it's May 25th.
May 25th in San Diego, Coronado.
Coronado, yes. Coronado, right on the water. Like you can walk out and your feet will be in the sand.
Oh, I can't wait. This Montana girl needs some of that for sure. It's so fun to be able to have all these events on the horizon to see what's coming up. The Authentic Genius Gala will be amazing too. We have New York City coming up in the fall. There's a lot of really cool things happening.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring you on today so we could talk about all these amazing things going on and let our audience know that there's some really great things coming. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
joined.
And probably one last thing to mention, I didn't mention this, is you can apply to be a speaker on the She Talks platform. As we said, that platform's for everyone. Our spots do fill up really quick. You can apply to be a workshop person. You can apply to have a table at the event as well. So there's a lot of opportunities to be involved. Many of our speakers who come, we professionally record their talks. We also do training if you've never spoken before. And many of our speakers after that get keynote talks because they use that video for that, and the platform helps brings them into a whole nother world. So our She Talks, I'm going to just say it, is giving TEDx's a run for their money because they're getting so popular and the message is so powerful. And we don't restrict you really in your talk. We let you tell your story pretty much. We say you have to be PG because we do have youth that attend our talks, but we let you tell your story. So if you want to apply for that, leadandempowerher.com, go to there and you'll see where it says like speaker submission or whatever, and you can apply for that. Obviously, you can look me up on Instagram, Facebook, Julie Ducharme, Dr. Julie Ducharme, I'm in there, or message Shelby. But we are still looking for women in aviation to speak at the Women in Aviation event, the Invest Her event, women who are really into the area of money, finances, or financial education. We need some more speakers on that too, and workshops.
Yeah. And She Talk is for women, but it's not only for women. Men can be there too.
Oh yeah, you're welcome to
Yeah.
women bring their hubbies, their, boyfriends, their,
In the workshops. Yeah.
I make my husband and son come and they have to work.
I'm sure we'll get there too. Well, Julie, thank you for coming and chatting with me today. This was great to get some content out about it, just so people know a little bit more about it, especially as we talk more and recruit more people that are coming into our incredible community. So it's got quite a story, and I think it's going to be interesting to do this again in a year and to talk about all the other amazing things that have come out of it.
Yeah, we'll be like at that point. So we have 350 women in Authentic Genius.
It's going to be cool. It's going to be it's really great. So thanks for coming today. And I look forward to seeing you this weekend. And to all of the listeners out there, if you have any questions about She Talks, Authentic Genius, brand building, marketing, any of those things, please reach out to Julie or myself. And we're happy to talk about all the options that are available. So we'll see you next time.
Bye.